What's up, everybody? We are back. Episode 2, Survivor 47, epic boss girl moves with me forever and for always, never leaving my side this entire season that I have noted anywhere. Riley McAtee. Riley, how are you?
I'm good. I'm a little sick. I hope I don't sound too stuffed up, but
You are
doing well. Just a little. I was in Vegas for a bachelor party over the weekend.
That'll get you sick.
I caught a bug. No, but I caught some actual bug.
A bug. Yeah, there's bugs going around down there. You never heard the saying, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas? Not always true. You bring a lot of that stuff home with you at the end of it all.
This came back with me, as well as like a hole in my wallet. So
weird
stuff.
You didn't come out profitable. You got to talk to me about that first.
Yeah. You got craps tips for me? I wasn't playing poker. I was playing craps. I'm
a slot machine guy now.
Slot machine guy?
Yeah.
Oh no, I'm never touching slots.
Advantage player over here. Yeah, you got to.
No.
If you know the slot machines, bro, it's not gambling if you're winning. That's investing
in slot machines.
Yeah, I'm a slot machine investor.
Oh, so you're supplying the slot machines. And other people are playing them. Or are you playing the slot machines?
I'm playing the slot machines.
Okay, I do. I don't want to interrupt. I know a guy who can get us a slot machine. It takes us a couple minutes and then we could call him. You know, he might be a guest on this at some point. Who's to say?
I know him. Jelinski. He offered me a slot machine. Anyways, you heard a voice out here. That is Brandon Donlon. Did I say that right? Donlon?
No, Donlon is fine. Donlon. But either way, I'm just happy to be talked about.
Which way?
It would be Lynn. It would be Lynn at the
Donlon.
end. You drop, to Brandon Donlon. You know, a short.
Donlon.
It's a good name. Donlon is a little bit more.
I mean, Brandon Donlon. It's like 3 rhyming things in a row there.
It's like a joke. It's like a little riddle. You know what I mean?
Did whoever named you do that as a joke? Do you think?
Well, you know what's funny? My dad wanted to name me Thor. That was like he was shooting for Thor really hard for the whole time I was.
Can you imagine trying to climb that ladder being named Thor?
The thing that my mom has said, like, what if he turns out exactly how I am now? Then Thor would have made a lot less sense. You know? So they went with Brandon, and Brandon's fine. Brandon works.
It's very safe.
It's hard to fuck up.
Yeah, I saw a TikTok where a guy was like, just name him Greg. He doesn't have to be Jax. He's not leading motorcycle gangs. He doesn't have to be like Maverick or something. He's not in a shootout in the Old West. Yeah. Just name him Greg. He's probably going to turn out to be a Greg anyways. That's like, you can be exceptional Gregs.
What do you think can we just do an exercise? And Riley, this is everybody. If I heard Greg and I thought of a job immediately. What is the job that you picture Greg to do?
I mean,
I haven't.
I don't really have it, but the Greg that was mentioned in this TikTok was worked at PetSmart.
Oh, that was mine. That was what I was going to say.
Is that true?
No, I was going accountant. I feel like all accountants are Gregs. It's a good accountant name.
I was going like truck driver or like construction or something.
Oh, that's a cool Greg. Not like I'm desk Greg.
That's a strong Greg. Yeah, that's a very strong Greg. Gregs, we love you. Our largest fan base is actually Gregs. So we're happy you're here. Brandon, we usually at the top of the hour here give the guest 20 minutes to just fawn over me as a Survivor player and legend. And we'll just start with that.
Yeah. So September 2008, I see Survivor for the first time. A couple months later, February 2009, I'm sitting and I'm, right here. Don't worry that I'm still with my mom. But I was watching Survivor Token Sheens,
Okay.
And this guy, he's on screen. And then 15 years later, we're both here. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter the paths we took to get here, but that's the goal. If you want to do something 15 years later, no matter, you can quantify success, you can quantify like a monetary amount of money, but like we all end up on the same platform. We're all on Spotify. This is an ad from Spotify. This episode of the podcast brought to you by friends over at Spotify. And we're all, this is great. I'm having
all roads lead to Spotify is what you're saying.
That's what, and if they want to use that, I would like some money from it if they're going to use that for marketing collateral. Okay. But all roads do lead to Spotify. They certainly don't lead to Apple Music.
Yes. Okay. I don't know what we can or can't keep from all of that, but we are here with Brandon. He has been a Survivor fan for a very long time. I recognized his name on Twitter years and years and years ago, and then very excited for him to see him finally on the show that he still loves. And right, you still love it?
I love it more than anything in the world. It's my favorite thing, and I've only loved it more. And I consider myself a good litmus test. Like if you watched me and you saw the experience, if you can put yourself in that position and still think you'd love Survivor at the end of it, then apply tonight. That's the barometer. I literally this is my favorite thing in the world. So I'm thrilled to be able to talk about it now. And a couple more people hear me than people heard me the 14 years that I was trying to do it.
Yeah. I think I've talked to you before about this in person, but it is the question I think that people ask about you the most.
Yeah.
There's a quote from you that said you've prepared your whole life for this. Yeah. And then most people are like, but he didn't try climbing a ladder.
Well, and I'm thrilled to have the platform to talk about is that I was training, and really I do think that I was only trying to control the anxiety part of it, because I knew that was my biggest hurdle. Is that performance anxiety is what I was afraid of. I said it in pregame interviews that I was nervous about it. And the whole time I'm in that first challenge, my mind is like, don't fuck up. Don't fuck up. Don't fuck up. Don't fuck up. And I'm swimming. Sean and I are swimming. We're batting 1,000. We get in the boat. We're paddling, batting 1,000. Jeff said, and they didn't put it in, obviously, because it's foreshadowing. But they were like, Brandon and Sean, the only people who knew how to paddle. And I actually high five Sean behind me. We were in it. Okay. And then as soon as I step on the wrong thing and fall, my mind is like, there it is. We knew this wasn't going to go well. And then I shut down. And I've said it before, I was pulling with everything that I had, every fiber of anything. And I'm not I can lift the amount that everybody, I'm baseline, and I was not moving at all. There was nothing about me that was moving. And then that's when the panic of hearing my tribe be like, where's Brandon? Hearing Jeff scream at me, knowing that this was going to play on TikTok in a couple of months. It was everything at me at once was this is the nightmare. This is the thing that you worry about. Yeah. So then eventually I get up, and then it's, I have a whole medical thing, just like last week, not just like last week. Let's make it. It's not just like last week. But I had a medical visit that happened that they didn't end up showing, that they strapped all this stuff to me. I thought, I was just having a really, really bad panic attack. And then I do think that I never recovered. I couldn't mentally get out of my head. And it's stuff as simple as doing the puzzle on the journey. I was the whole time just you're going to fuck up. You're going to fuck up. I know you're going to fuck up. You're seconds away from fucking up. And I couldn't shake that. I think there's something to be said for people who can go in and have a negative perception at first, like an Emily who goes in and is a little abrasive, is a little, rocking the boat a little, too much or whatever, and then be able to adjust on the fly. And I couldn't adjust. I do think if we would have won the second immunity challenge, or if we would have won the first, then I get footing and then it's a different story. Because the things that I knew that I brought to Survivor were good. I know that I'm social. I know that I'm funny. I know that I'm fun to be around. Those things worked. I just never got you lose the footing on the ladder, but then you lose it in the game shortly thereafter. And then now we're here. So again, all roads lead to Spotify. Last thing on that.
Yeah. When Sean was climbing over you to get up the ladder himself, was there a part of you that was like, help me? What are we? We both have to be at the finish line together. You climbing over me doesn't help us, and it doesn't help him even.
It doesn't. I do think I told him. Now I haven't returned to it. But I do believe I tell him to keep going. I think I say just I'll just take a second, because at that point I'm thinking that it's going to just be whatever. But to set the scene, and I'm not. I do
you're thinking you're going to get mom lifting a car off baby strength.
Yeah, literally, yes.
There's
no under me. I'm here. I'm full body doing a pull up with wet clothes. There's no footing. Also, there's nothing on they show a scene of me trying to kick around on the barge to find something to pull up. Yeah. So at that point, I didn't expect it to take that long, but I was expecting, you hear for years. I listened to podcasts. I've read the interviews of people saying they find that adrenaline, car accident, jaws of life strength. And I was is it supposed to, do I have to say a command?
Yeah,
like
what's
a wizard?
the magic
like,
words?
Am I supposed to say something to make it happen? And it just didn't happen for me.
Well, you got up there, and I still maintain to this day, maybe two of the greatest falls in Survivor. You eating the deck there after you get up the ladder, and then like the episode later in the challenge when you slide down this mud wall or something. I forget exactly.
Oh, that's only 60 minutes into the 90-minute episode. You get to see those pretty quick after.
Oh, they're in the same episode.
Okay. They double stacked. Do I have another fall? In the second episode, of course I did. On the way to the journey, I also fall.
Yes.
There. And people think I fall. Like, I don't fall. I'm not a guy in life that falls. And I go a lot of places. It's just, the terrain, I guess, was unfamiliar, and that's what happens. But again, all roads.
Yeah. And I'm also thinking, you've earned your spot there as for sure some of the best falls and multiple falls in Survivor history, which is something. Let's get into the episode. Lots and lots of things to break down here. And before we get to the entire Tuku tribe, let's start off with Rome's advantage hunt. Did he execute properly here? Like, we get him deciding he needs to do stuff at night. Then he blindly goes out, figures out he can't do it at night, hides the box somewhere like pretty close to camp and like just barely covered. And then he goes back to Teenie in the middle of the night, it seems, wakes her up, drags her over to the box so they can just feel it together, and then goes back to sleep. But in the background, when he's waking Teenie up, I see somebody else there awake, like looking at them walking off together. And is there any part of Rome's execution that was done properly?
No, I think it was flawless.
It seemed good. I have no notes. I do think that I'm curious to know, does Rome in this moment, this is now the night of day 3, presumably into day 4, does he know that everybody has already kind of talked about him being the one that will go? You know what I mean? Because at that point, it does make sense to bring in a Teenie to at least, whether he thinks he's aligning with Teenie to make an actual alliance, or just to give like a warning shot from the other side saying, I do have this. Like, it's me just letting you know that I do have something I could use. And then you see Teenie immediately go and tell Keyshawn, and then whatever. But I do wonder, the waking up in the middle of the night is a strategy. I also noticed that people were kind of looking over. But you have to think, like, there's a segment that follows where Rome is talking about his accolades, almost potential NBA champion, potential host of the On Fire podcast. Yes. I do wonder at that point,
a rapper.
And I forgot that one, also
and dancer.
Anything. I do think that Rome at that point, 3 days in, is probably just like being Rome. And I wonder if everybody if Genevieve takes off her buff and sees Rome doing a Rome thing, to Teenie, she's like, it's just him telling another story. Like, it's nothing that I have to be concerned about. But I do like the move of giving the warning shot, being like, this is, which I don't think was his intention, but it may end up working.
Yeah, I don't think it was his intention. I'm pretty certain that Rome doesn't know how other people perceive him in this game. Like, if you're going on and on about rapping, and he's even, I think, a teaser for next episode, he said that they may as well call this season Survivor Rome, because he's in so much control. Meanwhile, everybody's just rolling their eyes at him. Also, has the phrase, I could have been a rapper and then hitting some bars, ever gone well for people?
I think
I've never heard that phrase.
Survivor.
In general, I've never heard that phrase with then some bars followed up where I was like, fuck yeah, this guy could have been. It's never been that. It's always been like, okay, let's hear it. And then you hear it, you're like, nope, don't be a rapper. You haven't ever tried that.
And that is Greg from PetSmart. That's who's telling you that. He's like, he has to take, he's like, let me take my vest off. I do think that it is a hard place to be. Like, I am a rapper, and then rapping. There's a better.
Yes. Yes. I'm already a rapper.
Getting something good. Yeah. But I could have been, especially when you do follow with like, I could have been in the NBA. I do want to say him saying, I'm going to host the On Fire with Jeff Probst podcast, I do think is the hardest I've laughed at Survivor in quite a while. It's a combination of like a beautiful fourth wall break of like, okay, we're talking about the podcast on the thing, or like asserting that at this point we only know D, the winner, and Rick Devens, who's the biggest character of the 30s, or one of the biggest characters of the 30s. They're the people who've gotten.
No, I played in the 40s.
Okay. You played in the 40s, and then you were in the 20s and the teens. You were
yes.
never 30s. But you have him say, I'm gonna host it. Like I'll remember you guys when maybe I'll invite you to our StreamYard when I'm hosting it. I think that's incredible. I want more of that on every season. Let Rome do this every time. You know what? Let Rome host the podcast.
That's what I want to know. Do you think this helps his chances or hurts? Because I think in the past, it definitely hurt his chances of hosting this podcast that he's talking about, Jeff Probst's On Fire podcast. Is this, but like the newer, softer side of Survivor? Are they like, let's give it to him as a joke, kind of, but also because we're softer now?
Well, this is actually a thing that we had talked about on the island, which is the sea of money. Is if you ever said the sea of money on the televised program, if you made any reference to the sea of money, you made a joke about the sea of money, you're not getting the sea of money. You know what I mean? Like that's how you pull yourself out of consideration. If you're leaving tribal council and you make a joke of like, I could have swung from the chandelier, but it looks like I'm, whatever, like you're never getting the money. But listen, Sia pulled out. Jeff's still here. So maybe this is, I would like if the episode that followed this one, like the On Fire podcast that releases right after the episode, I would love if it was just Rome hosting. They don't even acknowledge it. It's just now it's Rome and Jeff. Charlie's somewhere else. And the next week, it's never talked about of how Rome got there.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hoping for.
Okay. Fingers crossed. I hope, I don't know what I hope for yet. Let's, because there are some different directions it could go. So I personally, I think Rome sharing with Teeny, not horrible, but like, what's the point of taking her to the location? All I could think of when he took her to fill that box in the middle of the night was, Teeny, go back and steal the whole thing. Can she not steal it there? Like, it's sitting out in the open. It hasn't even been retrieved yet. I think by the rules of Survivor, she could have taken that box for herself in that moment.
If she does that, is Rome still, he has no vote. So is Rome without a vote indefinitely?
Or does that transfer to Teeny as she takes over? Like, I don't know. And maybe it's unstealable at that point, but I'm thinking like, Teeny, take it. Worst case scenario, you take it and hide it. If production's like, you can't have that idol, Rome has to play it out or whatever. Right. He's the one that accepted the beware. Then just go huck it in the ocean. Do something with it.
I don't think they would allow that. They would be like, you can't move it.
I do wonder, like, I understand maybe you can't take it, but moving it seems to be fair game. Like, I think that's the way that I quantify those things in my head is like, can you see like a fun segment being made out of it? And I do see a scenario where Tina's like, I'm just going to hide it. Like it's out here, if he can't find it, what's he going to do? And I can see that playing well, as opposed to taking it. I feel like it's maybe harder to explain.
Like in the past, like when somebody goes through someone's bag and they find like an idol in the bottom, they're not allowed to steal it, and they're, I assume, also not allowed to like move it and hide it.
That is
as
true.
well. You have to somebody has to transfer it to somebody else before they can do anything with it. And I assume that they would say that like, no, the box is in Rome's possession. You can like go and look at it, but you can't like move it and hide it from him. That's just like a game breaking change.
I texted Matt Van Wagenen. We'll see if he responds here.
Okay.
So
I do agree it'd be hilarious though. So from that perspective, I would allow it at least once until it was like, okay, well, we can't allow this because it will destroy immunity idols forever. But
we got the most hilarious outcome, which was Teeny telling Keyshawn and then them two looking at the box while Rome rolls up after Rome had said he trusts Teeny 1,000%.
Yep.
Then he rolls in. That 1,000 dropped significantly as he walks on up on Teeny and Keyshawn manhandling the box without him there. And he plays it pretty cool, but is also taken aback. Did Teeny cover her tracks well enough there, Brandon? Is her superpower really a superpower?
I did think that I feel like you can kind of tell sometimes how the pitch. I mean, I think, forgive me if I'm incorrect, but I think Rome was like, I'm a little bit apprehensive, but I do think that what Teeny said was beautifully delivered, which is like, and it makes sense, is like, I'm only telling my person because I want us to all work with one other person. Like I understand on paper how that makes sense. And really Rome, like I think a storyteller like Rome, which I'm sure Tyson, I can't think off the top of my head. I think you've played Survivor with people who like have the constant stories. I mean, one chief among them, one who you did quite a few days with in Tocantins.
Yeah.
I think that the biggest thing for those people is just like flattery. And I think if you just make Rome feel good about Rome, then I think Rome would forget about it in an hour. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like I think Coach operates under a similar, and I don't know Coach, would love to know Coach, but I think it's a similar personality type where really their only interest is themselves. And if you can just, lay that on thick for a little bit, then you're golden.
Yeah. I don't think I think that even if she didn't fully patch it up this conversation, then she will get there. She's put the building block in place to build on. And I think she'll probably be fine as long as she keeps doing that. And also, like you said, playing into Rome's stuff. I did get a text back, not allowed to steal, not allowed to hide. So that box is in Rome's possession and no one's allowed to fiddle with it. So we got the maximum we were going to get from that, which I loved. I loved that moment. I think that it was just so good. So final question here about Rome. Should he have stopped at the single tribal council idol, or should he have kept going? There are so many factors there in play. I think in front of those people, he almost has to just take the single and stop hunting. Because maybe if he reads the clue, maybe then people can get on board and hide or find stuff. But I think the optics of just taking the first one in front of people is probably safest.
I think taking the first one is an opportunity to, whether you want to show everybody or not, kind of make it clear, like, I'm not going. So it's like, it's almost better for you to just include me in what you're doing, and within a couple days, Rome does have, it's the thing in Survivor that is the most valuable is just time. Rome can, if they go to a tribal council and they go to another one, or they go to another one, like he can build in that couple days being in that majority, because he kind of has to be. Like there's no, unless you're gonna Black Widow and make him give it away to somebody and then get him voted out. Odds of that happening, I think, are slim. It's just easier at that point to just let him hang with the majority alliance. So I do think that the one is the correct move. And the longer you go, these beware advantages, I was afraid to open one for multiple reasons, but one of which is like, there's nothing stopping Survivor to be like, hey, this is nothing. You just lose your vote until the merge. Like, good luck. You know what I mean? Like the variance in what that could be is too much.
Which leads me to my most genius Survivor season, candy wrappers, where it's just clues to advantages that don't exist, hidden all over the island.
Oh, and why candy? Like, why specifically candy? Are they like physical candy wrappers?
No, but like, that's kind of just what they look like, is little candy wrappers. So people find them, like you scatter them places where it looks like somebody's already retrieved them. So like you are walking on the beach and you kick a thing and a piece of paper kind of shows itself in the sand and you pick it up and it's like, this is a hidden immunity idol. You can use it up to 3 tribal councils. And you're like, holy shit, somebody has. It's just creating mass paranoia as people are going back to camp and showing their friends this clue that's been opened and used to their alliances. Is that not hilarious?
I know. I love that. And I think that the next evolution of the idol I thought was going to be, and if you have Matt Van Wagenen on the line, I don't know, you can send him the link. This is a good idea. Credit me. Yeah. I was expecting like a verbal idol, like the way that the idol phrases to unlock the intermediate idol. Like there's no paperwork anymore. The thing about the idol is like, let me see your papers, right? Yeah. Let's get rid of the papers. And it's a plaque somewhere saying your idol phrase is like, it's like 6 numbers and it's, 1, 3, 9, 7, 2, 3. And then you invoke that at tribal council. That's the idol. But there's no way to tell anybody, there's no way to prove to anybody that you have it, but you might actually have it.
Yeah.
It's something.
That is something, actually. Yeah. I don't hate that. Then you have to go off of your word even more so. Yeah, I don't hate that. And then it also lends itself to, like, if you're hearing that, you can go around and tell people also that you found an idol and make up some weird phrase or whatever.
I would go the other way, actually. This is my idea. Like, what if the idol was like a 20-pound rock? You need to bring that to tribal council.
Yeah.
People are going to think, Riley, that I couldn't find that. I'd have to ask Caleb for help for the idol, if that's the case. But I can get the 20-pound rock, guys, listening to this podcast.
Yes.
I could get I'd put it in my bag.
Yeah,
Nobody would know it's there.
That's Greg's strength.
It's Greg's strength.
There we go.
He's got to lift boxes and shit.
Yeah.
PetSmart.
Yeah.
There's cages. They're heavy.
Yes.
Exactly. I think that's Riley. I like that a lot. I think that is the next evolution, and I think that's a lot of fun. Also, I think the new era is like the era of Survivor that's a lot of fun, and I think that, like, the idol phrases, like the silly idol phrases, I love that. I want more stuff like that, and I do like the 20-pound rock having to have 3 people bring it into tribal council. I think it's objectively very fun.
Okay, so what about this? Instead of a phrase, it's a choreographed dance that you have to perform in front of Jeff for the idol.
Yeah. It's like when you were asking your parents, like, let you have a sleepover with your cousin, and you're like, what's going to impress you is we have this dance that we choreographed. Let's do this,
Yeah.
And Jeff, it would be fun if the dance, if it was even like a little bit wrong, that was disqualified. Because then you just did a dance, and that's going to be on the show. They're not putting that in the show.
That is not a hidden immunity idol. That's
Jeff, sit down. Jeff should have the Dancing with the Stars paddles. I know where we can get those. You just flip up the number.
I like it. There's lots of opportunity here for production to really, take these idols to the next level. Maybe we could do some of each next season. Rome has this thing. It's good for one. Teeny is upset because Rome was going to be first to go. So now she's got to rethink her plans, and Rome is now in that majority for at least one time. I think, unbeknownst to Rome, this was good for him. To have it, to take it for one single use, so that everybody just buys him 3 more days instead of people. If he would have done the three tribal or the real full idol, Teeny would have just blindsided him.
Yeah, at that point you have there's more collateral. Like a one idol, it's Gabe, spoiler alert, in the back half of this episode, is like you have the one idol for the first tribal council. You're playing it. You're playing it just to say that you played an idol. And Rome wants to make the idol speech. Rome wants to have a heroic Jeff, whatever. So I do think that this was a net negative. And just like in Survivor, you can kind of stumble into a bad position that really wasn't a fault of your own. This is Rome stumbling into something that really may have worked for him, that he didn't know that was not his means to the end. You know what I mean? You stumble in sometimes and it works out for you.
Yeah. I agree. Rarely do those people end up winning overall, but he definitely stumbled into a positive. Let's go to Gata real quick before the entire episode becomes Tuku. We get Andy here, and I can't help but notice, and I mean, they went over it immediately. Everybody is now cheering for him, telling him what a nice coconut he has, including him so much. Is this patronizing to Andy, or is he? It feels like he's eating it up and he's happy to be in this position, but I wouldn't like it if I were Andy.
Can I say my point about the cheering from last week that I didn't get to say publicly?
Yeah.
That Andy has a lot of good on his side in that he looks and acts as somebody who would just chop coconuts.
Like
I
a
think
Thor.
You cheer for like a Thor. Brandon, you cheer like people, people cheer for me when I chop the coconut, because they were, because I'm a desk guy, right?
Yeah.
You cheer for John Lovett because he's a desk guy. We've never seen a coconut or a knife. We've never wielded those two things in both of our hands.
Your mom wouldn't let you.
My mom wouldn't let me. They're locked in. They have one of those little things on the drawers. Those Riley's gonna buy some.
You got to push down the thing underneath behind the thing to pop it out all the way. Yeah,
and those are hard to do. But I do think that now, yes, this is now everybody making a meal out of the cheering for Andy, and Andy's chilling. It's nice to have an applause. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, Riley made this point last week, and it was actually our most viral clip was Riley saying that if you get cheered for coconuts, that's a bad thing. That means people don't respect you or believe that you can do the things out there that need to be done.
I did back myself into a corner with my thought before listening to the episode last week where that take was made. That is, I think, true. But listen, the desk, it's cool to see the desk guy go do the coconuts. Like, look at
would
that.
Would, and not me particularly, but would someone who is a coconut guy get cheers at a desk thing? Like if I rolled in and was like, I'm going to do some HTML and then probably, design this website here, would people in the office be like, fuck yeah, Tyson, way to go, buddy? So you programmed all of that by yourself? I'm like, I watched a YouTube and figured it out. People would cheer for me.
I would be exponentially more impressed if you did that than somebody who's then Andy is like, okay, that's Andy's job. Like that's what Andy does. Andy's not I think Andy's more Thor adjacent than desk adjacent. But John Lovett, John Lovett, if we see you code a website, we're like, holy shit. Yeah, guys, he's good at everything.
Did Andy?
I would probably clap for Lovett if he coded something too.
Yeah,
like he doesn't strike me as that kind of guy either. I don't know what what I would not clap for him for. Just feels like everything's an accomplishment.
And he's a guy you want to clap for, also. Like he's just he seems like a great guy.
Yeah.
Not to say that people who don't get clapped for are not great men.
Wait, hold up. This is really cutting me deep because I never got cheered for anything on my seasons.
Because everyone assumes you're great at everything.
That's the curse that you have. You know what I mean?
That's my burden to be.
That's your burden
to bear. Yeah.
That's your cross. We all have a cross. Some of us can't carry ours, but we just have a lot of stuff that's going on with how this game operates. I'm sorry, you were saying something about Andy's something.
Did Andy cheer for John? Is Andy cheering for people he thinks are doofuses that can do stuff he didn't believe they could do?
Yeah. It's so funny. Like it just in the last week of the coconut lore being explained, like I remember that I chopped a coconut. I was proud of myself because I never, again, wielded both of those items.
Yeah.
But like, I don't think we were cheering for anybody when they chopped anything. Like we were having so much fun, but we weren't like morale.
Fire making gets cheers. Fire making for people that you don't believe can make fire really does.
Immunity win for somebody who otherwise wouldn't be an immunity winner gets cheers also. That's you get Christian Hubicki on this thing, he's getting cheers.
Oh yeah. So is this going to be the new thing on Survivor? Like any time for seasons from now,
honestly,
everyone who's seen this, anyone who chops a coconut, you're like, I have to make sure I'm cheering for this guy. We don't want to make him seem like he's on the
new
so
banana
everyone's
etiquette.
Just getting cheers. Yeah.
The new banana etiquette is cheering. Well, even back in Tocantins, Sierra, my arch nemesis, apparently, she, after each challenge, would come back and be like, did you see me do this? Like she needed that validation. I don't think we gave it to her ever. And maybe we should have. And that was what we needed to do. But like she was
what happened?
asking.
She said, did you see me do this? And you were like, yeah. And that was it.
I was like, you were like fourth fastest. Who gives a shit? Like there's 9 people here. You were fourth. That's still an F.
That's above average.
Yeah, but it's a 60%. That's
there are 5 people slower than her and 3 that are faster. That's great.
Who on the Timbira tribe? Who enabled that the most? Do you remember that? Who do you think gave into that? Or was it 7 of you were not into it and she was the only one that was trying to get it?
Yeah, pretty much.
Is that right?
Brendan was the most like I don't think he cheered for her, but he at least like validated her a little bit. And so, but everybody else was just like eye roll every time she'd, be like, hey, did you see me? I almost, and it's like, yeah, but Jeff said not to do that. And then you did it. And then they had to stop the challenge. Like there was one where we had to unbuckle this big puzzle piece from this dangling hangman thing. She didn't hear the unbuckle part. So she runs over and just starts yanking and the thing almost tips over and production had to come out and be like, stop. And then she came back. She's like, did you see I almost yanked that thing down? We're like, yeah, after they specifically told us to be very careful not to. Like, I don't. So we didn't clap for her in those moments and we should have. And that's one of my regrets is not.
And Sierra, if you're listening, we clap for you now.
We're clapping now. We're very impressed.
This is what you did. Impact.
Yeah. So Andy, everyone's cheering for him. And I think there is part of him that's like, okay, they're all now placating me or, like making me feel welcome. And it's too much. I can feel it, but there is something to be said about being in that position, which is probably pretty good for Andy, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, again, it's like I had written a blog post the past week about people who started off on the wrong foot. You can find it on the realitytvnewsletters.com.
Okay.
People who start off on the wrong foot, and then what happens to them, right? Because you see people like David Wright and Aubrey and Emily, and they start bad, and then they find themselves, right? And then you see people like me and Jatia and Sandy, who was with you, Tyson, who start off poorly. And then Sandy's kind of a non-entity, and then she goes, right? Jatia and I, Jessica Chong from season 46 of Survivor, we have a difficult opening, and we leave difficult, Andy's trajectory at this point, I don't know if this episode kind of led me where that's going to go. I wanted this episode to give me more answers as to how that is. And granted, you get Sam forging this alliance, but like the same thing with Emily is like a couple more social faux pas, and Emily's out sooner than, granted, she ends up on a tribe and she's in a great position and she changed things about herself. But like, I don't know watching this episode if Andy can do that. I think it's the ball is in Andy's court for him to do that. Sam can help him all he wants, but Andy ultimately could be the person that takes himself out of the game.
Yeah, I think he did okay this episode, but I did like the little comments from we get Rachel saying that the layers to Survivor are mind-boggling. They have to cheer for him now. And she's like, you didn't even realize when you came out here. I've said this so many times. You have to envision everyone's pet peeve, any pet peeve that could ever be imagined, and not do those things. In case someone on your tribe has that specific pet peeve. Don't chew too loud. Don't blink too often. Don't blink too loud. Don't scratch your face. Don't touch your face. Don't breathe in someone's face. Don't breathe too loud. Don't snore. There's so many things that you have to just like. And then on Andy's side too, who needs what from me? What does Brandon need from me specifically? What does Riley need from me specifically? And you have to do those two things constantly to juggle your relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, you see, Rachel and you see Sam also talk about how they're now and I think Annika does as well, is now we have this other thing we have to, like the game, the Survivor, you get a couple new things every day, from day 1 to 26. And now this is just another additional thing in day 4 that you're having to manage. And if you manage incorrectly, that could mean, a bad thing for the entire tribe as a whole.
Which they almost do, as Sam is put on Andy watch while the girls go look for the advantage. Sam has to take a little pee break. And while he's gone, Andy does actually find the advantage, which was our hope. We hoped and prayed all week long that Andy would find this advantage because that would be hilarious. Finds it and he puts it back. And I don't hate this play. Like
I don't hate the play.
Yeah.
I think the play is because Andy's going to go if they lose again, right?
Yeah.
If they lose the second the second immunity challenge, Andy's out. Andy's in the 17th place group chat with me and Sarah Wilson and Maddie, and Zach. And he didn't, right? He left it because he wanted to preserve his vote. I do think the move is to like lead somebody to it, to at least you will know who has it. What Andy did was kind of just leave it up to God,
fate,
which is fine. But
you don't want to leave things up to God.
Well, I mean, it worked out for him. But if the girls find it, if Annika finds it, then we're in a completely different situation. It's not the same thing as what happened to Rome, but it is like stumbling into a thing that ended up being really good for a move that was like fine, but not with that intention.
Yeah, I'm looking at it, and you have to think. You have to, if you're the person that bumps into this advantage, you have to say, I'm probably losing my vote. Does my vote even matter? I mean, it's just like real life. Does my vote even matter? And
it does. Vote, please vote. If you're listening to this, please vote.
One vote.
I just want to take my platform and tell you, you should vote. I'm sorry to cut you off there, but sign up. DM me. I'll tell you where to go if you're not sure. But
he'll do it for you.
Yeah,
so,
I'll do it.
I think that's what you have to ask yourself, though, because in Andy's position, in that moment, I have to say, if I'm Andy, I'm saying my vote doesn't matter. If I'm in the position I am aware I'm in, I think I'm in, everyone's going to vote me out next. And if that's the case, then I should just take it. If I
you
feel
are on a tribe of 5, which makes it a little more like there could be.
So do I have 2 people?
If I have 2
people,
then your vote is very important.
Then you leave it. Yeah. But if you are still certain that everyone's against you, you got to take it. And I think that Andy, I don't know if his read was incorrect or correct, or he had information or knowledge that we don't have. But if I'm Andy, in that moment when I bumped into that, I thought he probably should have taken it, because you're saying you're preserving your vote and going back to get it if you need it. But if you're the next vote, then you got to take it anyway. So why not buy yourself the time to go through the clues if there's clues?
On Riley's point about moving the open beware advantage, I do wonder the rules of moving the unopened. You can't move
even
the unopened.
Yeah, even outside this is a beware advantage. If you take it, you have to, and if you don't, you have to put it back where you found it.
Sure. I mean, my move, because I famously found the beware advantage and then gave it to Sabaya, who was
that's what you're most famous for.
That's what let's just keep saying it, and then maybe that'll change the Google SEO. That's what I'm most famous for is doing the Sabaya idol. I thought I was safe in that configuration because we were all against Emily. I really wasn't a thought to go home in the first round. It was going to be Emily, and if we lost again, I was under the assumption it would also be Emily. So I give it to Sabaya just because my thinking was like, I don't want to be the person. The thing I likened it to is like having a trampoline. Like, you don't want to be the person who you have the trampoline in your backyard because everybody's using you for the trampoline. Mm-hmm. But if you're besties with the person with the trampoline, it's kind of your trampoline too. You just don't have the baggage of like having everybody want to come over and use it. So I wanted to give it that way. And then I ultimately lost my vote, famously again, a couple, 2 hours after the fact. But that was the thinking there, which I think is, I guess, similar to this. But again, it's leaving it. I think, we're seeing strategy evolve. When I did that and it didn't work, I had the thought of like, somebody's going to do this eventually and do it correctly. And this is just another evolution on top of something that will this was cool, but something that will eventually be really cool.
Yeah. I like that. I like being able to keep tabs on it without you having to take the risk. And if you're not in that position where you feel, then fine. Before we carry on, do you have a full chest tattoo? Am I seeing something peek out from your shirt? And did you have this on Survivor?
I did not have it on Survivor because it's actually part of my buff. It's the owl from the Lulu tribe.
Oh, wow.
Oh, wow.
Caleb has an owl on his arm. Not this one. I have the owl here. This is, I wanted to get a Survivor tattoo. I didn't want to get just the logo.
Jeff Probst.
You can't get 45. You don't want to tattoo 45 on you.
Okay.
Not in today's political lexicon, but I wanted to get something Lulu adjacent. So this is the owl from my buff, because I love the people that I was on the tribe with, they were the best people I ever met in my life. So this is my, that's my subtle nod to my time on the island.
Well, what if you start meeting better people than that? Are you going to have to like retouch or put one over or just get full canvas?
So when they called me for 50, they said that we're going to put you on the tribe. Like the tiger is going to be.
Oh, tiger.
The tiger is a lion and a tiger for 50. And I think there's a third auxiliary tribe. It is a bear. They're doing a wizard
Lions,
of Oz
tigers and bears.
Theme.
Yeah.
But I'm actually, they said, do you have a place you want to get it yet? And I was like, who's on the tribe with me? And they gave me a couple names. And then I think I'm going to get this around here. And then I already have a little space like kind of carved out for the names of the people that I'm going to be with.
Hear me out.
Yeah.
Full body tiger stripes.
Yeah. And nobody's done that yet.
Nobody. I've never seen anybody on like Ripley's Believe It or Not or whatever else there is of anybody with full tiger stripe body.
Yeah, I do think I that is a rebrand. If you want to see a rebrand, if I showed up and I had full tiger stripes, I think people are like, is this okay? We know he's here. And then,
you blend in like a tiger, you're predator on the prowl, dude, apex.
It is a good, maybe camouflage for
you might be the first person to return to Survivor where you could actually disguise yourself and people would not know who you were.
That would be, and you know what? For some, that's ideal, Riley. For some, it's a good thing when you come back. You, Tyson, you went on with, I think, 4 different hairstyles. I think you're the only person who, I guess Ozzy also, but you drastically changed hair every time. Is that something that, did thought go into that with intention?
Yeah. I didn't want to be branded as a single like hairstyle guy, long or short or whatever. So I did purposely try to. I wish I would have shaved my head for the challenge, just to get the full spectrum. But yeah, I did that. I did do that on purpose a little bit. It was by design, and it just kind of happened too.
Yeah,
like stages in my life. So okay, so now that we got that out of the way. And we get everyone talking about babysitting Andy and Andy putting that back. Uncertain if it's good or bad. It did work out for the good here, I think. Sam finds it. And he finds it in front of Annika. And he easily could have just jammed it in his pants, it seems, and not shown it to Annika. But there's something about sharing these advantages. Can you speak to that at all? What is it about these advantages that everyone wants to immediately tell someone who then they figure out is going to tell someone? So then they have to tell someone else. And then everyone knows except for maybe one person.
Well, I do think it's the culture of the tribe. And I do liken it to a little bit of what happened on my tribe, which was that we were all trying to find anything. So Emily didn't find it. Right. And I do think that whether Sierra and Rachel are off looking as Sam and Annika are looking a different way, like the goal of the game, the goal of day 4 is to just make sure Andy doesn't find this thing, right? So I do think that because everybody feels that there's a common enemy, like the easiest thing in Survivor to have at that stage is a common enemy because, it's not you. Like as soon as, Sam finds that and shoves it in Sam's pants, if Annika gets a glimpse of that, then Annika clearly isn't as safe as she thought she was. But looking and kind of having this thing that we're holding it together because there's a guy over there that we're going to vote out with the help of this thing, that I think contributes a lot, especially in the early game, to wanting to tell somebody,
So Annika's read, though, was that Sam has this, even though I know about it. I'm glad I know about it, but it makes Sam more of a threat, which would be my perception if I found something in front of somebody is like, best thing I can do is maybe a Marcus from season 17 where he just hucks it into the ocean or like just burns it at the first tribal council just to burn it. Like, I don't know and even I think Blood versus Water, you had the opportunity to give a clue to your loved one, but people just started throwing those in the fire instead of giving them away because they realized it would make their loved one a target. So, I mean, maybe where Sam was and the way it was edited made it look like he could have hidden it and didn't. Like, that's the thing. If you found it and you can't hide it, now you just got to roll with it. But if you can hide it, you got to hide it because but the second one person knows, you got to assume more people know. And the best thing you can do at that point is, I guess what Sam now has to do is he's like, okay, I found it with Annika. I have to tell Sierra because I don't want her to ever find out I'm withholding information. And then as he's talking to Sierra, he's like, do I need to tell Rachel? And Sierra's like, yes, because Annika's going to tell Rachel immediately. So then Andy also has to tell Rachel, and then he has to share everything. So he finds the clue with Annika, he finds the key with Rachel, and he takes Sierra to uncover the box. And then he also took the single tribal council. Is that correct? Right? He did.
He took the one.
So what is it? Why are we not rolling the dice here?
I think that too is like all of their first priority right now is just surviving that tribal council, and I do think that although they have already lost, I do wonder if there's some thinking of like, we can kind of logic out there's only going to be 4 more of these pre-merge rounds. We seem to communicate okay, like maybe we only will need it for one, maybe it's not worth pushing it for a couple more. But I do think Sam, inviting everybody in, knowing that Sierra's is number 1, inviting in Sierra, knowing that finding it with Rachel is helpful, knowing that finding it with giving Annika that piece of like, we're finding it together. I do think that this was a unified strike against Andy, who eventually, Andy's the one who goes and obviously has, previously found it. He goes and tells Sam that he's like, I found this. And then Sam obviously does his acting, uses those acting chops. Sam literally, he could send this episode to like job interviews. Sam, I think just, he had such he was narrating through it the whole time. All of his logic was sound to me. And then you have Andy, who's alone on this tribe at the bottom, reaching out. That's the olive branch is Sam, the person who's controlling everybody else. So I think that all in all, this was a great Sam episode. I'm sure Sam, this is a really good episode for him. I'm sure he's thrilled.
Yeah, it is a good episode, but people are starting to realize that he may be the kingpin over there, which is always a problem. Before we get to Tuku and all the craziness there on the Yellow Tribe, last thing, during the challenge, I'm watching this challenge. We're seeing this big rice bag go through. We see them cut and chop the rice bag open to get the ball to do the challenge. And I'm thinking, fill your pockets up with rice.
Yeah.
Rachel then immediately starts filling her pockets with rice, but she's not very coy about it. Cameras catch her. Jeff catches her, and he makes her dump it, which I kind of thought they should have just let her have it. Like, she was the only one that did it, and calling her out. I mean, I get the rules, and I've been in situations where you go and you get to eat something and they check your mouth to make sure it's empty before they send you back to camp. Even we had corn buckets where we were taking corn a little bit, and same thing. They made us dump all the corn handfuls we took. So yeah, that's the rules. But I think like that would have been a better moment had she gotten back to camp and her pockets are just ballooned with rice.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with that. I understand there are rules, of course. One, I love like a survivor first. I can't remember a time where anybody's tried to do that. And I in a show that is built on like the essence to survive and do whatever you have to do to get an edge or whatever. I think it's fair. You're having a challenge with rice, like, and not for anything. There's 17 people. I mean, I'm sorry. There's 15 people that are playing this challenge. Nobody else thought to do it. Rachel's the only one who thought to do it. So Rachel, I think, in a game that is based on getting every opportunity to get leverage that you can, let her have the rice. It's, it's this much rice. I think that I stand by let Rachel have the rice. # let Rachel have the rice.
Yeah. Right.
I won't use that. You don't have to use that.
I mean, I feel like she should have been allowed to keep it. If there's no rule against it,
there probably is a rule against it, but
they can fill a bag with something else.
Yeah. That's what I was
Do you
saying.
think
if you didn't want somebody to take it, fill it
if
with
they did
rocks.
the challenge with like jelly beans or M&Ms or something, does that make it? You think people are throwing them in the mouth?
Yeah, they would literally just be eating them in handfuls.
I'm not even chewing them. I'm using water to wash them down so I can get max calories before they step in and slap them out of your hand.
At that point, like, let's just go to tribal council. Let's just eat let's eat until somebody finishes. Is the thinking? Yeah, but rice, I guess, it's having a challenge with the food that they no longer give you in the new era is like, it's mean. It's a mean thing I get it, but it's mean. So I don't blame anybody for trying to be resourceful.
Yeah, I agree.
So Kyle said at Tuku, at one point he says, they said nice people can't win this game. Tyson, true or false? Brandon, true or false? Can a nice person win Survivor?
Nice people can win Survivor, but not being nice. You don't win Survivor by being nice. So I think, there's kind people that win the show. But you have to also be savvy and savage. You can't win the game without that.
I think the mindset of nice people can win the show. If you have that mindset, you're probably not going to win. I think that is a objective fact that nice people do in fact win the show. But if you are going in like, I don't have to, maybe, I mean,
I'm going to win with kindness doesn't work.
Because JT, I feel like, is the poster child for that, but he also did things that were not, he understood when, you need to hold them and fold them, So I do, I think that Kyle mentality, I do like having somebody on Survivor, especially in the new era, who is like operating under a different mindset like that, but he probably won't win. I think people are going to really like him. I watching this episode, I was super endeared by Kyle. I think he was my standout I really liked him, but I do think if you're going to play with honor and integrity to a point where you won't do something that will benefit you to keep your honor and integrity, then, it won't be a blissful journey. You won't have $1 million. You might have a lot of fun and learn a lot about yourself, but you won't have $1 million.
Well, you get 1 million hearts.
Even that, probably not. Probably a little bit, I would say half under that. Some of us don't even get in the top, you just, any hearts is good. Any amount of hearts. $1 million
for,
is, $1 million
for
is
me, at least, you earned my heart by like being mean on Survivor. Like, this is what I
me?
No,
Did you
just
ask
in general.
who when
Just
he's talking to
in
you
general.
and I? Yeah. That's
just, my heart is earned when I see somebody, stick that knife in and twist it. I'm like, there we go.
Yeah. When it makes sense to do it and they do it, you're like, that's what needed to be done. You did the thing.
Or when it doesn't make sense.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes that's good too.
Yeah.
But I want to see some stabbing.
Okay.
You want to see some stabbing? Yeah.
And not literally like the rice bag, but figuratively.
That was some very aggressive stabbing. When Jeff was like,
so
watch
too.
your hands. It was like, I literally think somebody's about to cut a finger off right now.
Did you hear the Gata Tribe saying to Andy, like, it's like the coconut when he was opening the bag? That was good. I appreciate any comedic callback. I thought that was really good.
Yeah. Full circle.
They said it's like the coconut, chop it. And then he chopped.
He went to town.
Did you have to cut open a burlap bag? I wonder how difficult that is.
I don't know. I didn't have to, but I was like, why are you not doing more of a slashing motion? You're just doing a stabbing. I feel like there was more efficient ways. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, with that, let's get to everything Tuku. We first get the boys versus girls dynamic with the bromance that everyone's being accused of. And TK telling Gabe how to play the game. I love that. I'm not with TK this episode. He was my winner pick from the start, but he was too overbearing in a lot of ways. You don't tell people how to play Survivor. I think if they ask, I think Caleb maybe executed that the best with Emily on your season, but generally it's a very bad idea to, TK is like, yo, Gabe, make relationships like he's not.
Yeah. The thing about Emily too is like Emily was open to critique also, which I like that. If you get the entry point, then sure. Yeah. But Gabe did not. Gabe thought he was making relationships, and then he hears somebody saying you should probably start talking to people. It's probably better for you to talk to people. I think that's funny, but not
I think it's funny too. Yeah, I love that. I love that. I mean, he does that so many times. He does it to Sue, where he's like, has anybody talked to Sue here? Like, I don't think anybody's built a relationship with Sue. As like, if you don't think that, then the joke is probably on you here, TK. Yeah. Like that's, but it's so funny. So TK, a little hesitant to work with Gabe, pulls Tiana in, and she's very happy to work with them at first. But as we carry on, we get that, so we get this power trio, TK, Kyle, and Tiana, with Gabe on the outside. And it's going back and forth and constantly like, Gabe's like, I don't want to be with that foursome. And he pulls in two wounded birds, Sue and Caroline. Mm-hmm. Are you like, Brandon, it's me, you, and Greg on a tribe.
Sure.
And I'm like, I got the perfect idea. Tyson, the Alpha Sigma guy over here, going to pull in two baby birds, Brandon and Greg. Mm-hmm. And we're going to fly all the way to the end, where I will then win because I have the two baby birds with me.
Sure.
You insulted when you watch this episode and I'm like, baby bird, Brandon is with me?
I would, I do question the move, but Gabe's navigating more on this tribe than I think anybody. Gabe's, he's with the guys. He's with Tiana. He's with the birds.
Yeah.
And he's really wheeling and dealing. But, at Tribal Council, I forget what the exact quote was, but people call out Gabe for being schemy. And I do think that, like, it's a good friend. It's like dating the wrong person, but just because it's fun to date the wrong person. Like, you're going to meet more people at some point, but you should he's here and we're bored. So, like,
he's just Tarzaning around the island. Why not date the Tarzan guy?
Yeah. And then you get to emerge at a certain point and you're like, I've been with this guy, but now we're at a school dance. They'll look at all these other people I could potentially court. And that's where I think this is going. Like, if Gabe wants to be driver's seat, which it's very clear that he does, his opening confessional is like, I want to be the Mount Rushmore on the new era. They obviously don't know that, but that's, I'm sure that mindset and mentality is clear to both Sue and Caroline, who are super smart and perceptive people. So at that point, ride with him. And then he's going to get clipped before you do. That 3 is not making it to the final 3, presumably.
Yeah. And if they do, Gabe is not winning.
And if they do, Gabe is not winning. No. Yeah. Gabe will make, because if he's in the front seat, he's making very clear enemies, while Sue and Caroline are left to pick up said pieces. I do like Gabe a lot. I think Gabe's very funny, but I wonder about the strategy.
I think he is growing into his own here a little bit. He seemed, like he was struggling a little bit first episode. This episode, it seems like he's kind of come into his own. He's kind of figured out his footing. And I haven't played in the new era, Brandon, you haven't played in the old era, but
No.
I want to touch on. I
thought you were going to say I haven't played in the new era. I was like, yeah.
Oh, you haven't also. Neither of us have played in the new era, but you experienced some of it.
Yeah.
Gabe goes to Caroline because he needs to build a relationship with her because he's taking these two wounded birds under his wing. Caroline says, I don't really feel it yet. It's not there yet, but potentially. Is that too honest, or is that the new era? Because for me, I'm Gabe. I approach Brandon. I say, we can work together. Let's work together. And you say, I'm not really feeling it because we haven't like built a relationship yet. Mm-hmm. Now I'm thinking Brandon has to go next.
It is a weird move. I do think like the only thing anybody's thinking about now, and the thing that what I lived through is like nobody wants to go. Nobody wants to be the first to go from the tribe. Nobody wants to go at this stage in the game. So turning down what is an olive branch that's being extended to you, I have to assume Caroline has some sort of rationale for that we aren't privy to yet, or we aren't privy to at all.
But so you always assume everyone's a genius, then we just aren't seeing it.
I assume that there is something about Gabe that we're not seeing, I think, in this particular situation. I think that it just seems weird like Brando pitches Drew on an alliance, and Drew's like, I don't think I'm interested because Drew has the numbers, I understand that. But Caroline at this point, I don't think is clear where the vote is going, or maybe she is. And I watched incorrectly, but I'm curious to see, what pans out for the weeks beyond this, because clearly like the consensus vote is now gone, so if they go back, now we have people who are intertwined with each other. We have Kyle, who's on the outs but seems to be well liked amongst everybody else. He was kind of mediating the TK and Tiana of it all, so I'm unsure.
I thought it was probably poor, but then Gabe read it correctly. I mean, she told him he didn't have to read anything. She told him that maybe, but right now there's not enough substance there. So he shows her his idol, and now she's like, okay, I'm now cautious, but want to be optimistic. And Caroline and Sue are like, in it together. And so we get this like weird poll now in this tribe of TK, the bromance, and Tiana versus Sue and Caroline and Gabe, and also maybe Tiana. And where did it start going wrong for TK here in this episode?
TK had a fantastic opening episode. Like I thought TK was long game from how he goes in the journey, and how I really like, and I do like it. I really liked what he brought to Survivor. I do think that, my favorite moment of, I think, the new era, and maybe all of Survivor, just because I love the show so much, is Jeff at the 46 premiere episode telling everybody, like, there are some of you who can't win this. There are some of you that the thing about you is not going to work in this situation. It might work for a little, it might work for until the last 2 days of the game, but you fundamentally cannot win. And I love examples of that. Like TK, his personality is, a little overbearing in this episode. It's shown. TK can't work with this group. Like this group was not welcoming of what TK was bringing to it. Despite being huge. Like if TK is on Lulu, like we're okay with the overbearing because we need TK. But in a group that assess that even this thing that he brings to the game, which is so important in the early game, is just having a really, really strong person. They assess that isn't worth it. We'd rather have the cohesiveness that it brings without TK than to have TK here, which is just like a fascinating Survivor study that makes me geek out about the show.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I also think like TK lacks the self-awareness of how he is perceived in even navigating the show Survivor. Like he's sitting there while people are trying to nap and have talked about napping, talking about alligators, the Super Bowl in Vegas, Big Bear, California, and to the point that his one closest ally is so annoyed with him that she has to wrestle strategy versus emotion and when and what. And we know those are intertwined because, you have to work with people that you like. It doesn't usually work for very long that you can, going to a vote with people you dislike and come together on it. It will for a time or two, but I think it's very, very, very difficult to make that last from day one all the way to the end. Because liking somebody is part of trusting someone.
No doubt. Yeah, that's it. I can't think of a case of people who, I mean, maybe like in Survivor, Exile Island with Sari and Shane and Aris, like that was an alliance who like they butted Courtney, they all butted heads in that alliance, but like they understood the job that needed to be done until it couldn't be done any longer. But like in the new era, I mean, you see these alliances, the Tika 3 who likes each other.
Yes. Yeah.
Not anymore. You see the Reba 4 who likes each other. Like you need to have that cohesiveness and make it all the way to the end.
So do the Tika 3 not like each other at all anymore?
Oh, I don't know that. I just, I'm a court
there's
jester.
something there.
I just, there's probably something.
Yeah.
Again, when they called me about 50, they said, "Can you just mediate this when you're here and they're all here?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll do whatever."
Yeah, totally fine. Yeah. You've got this, Brandon.
I got it.
We're excited to see that. TK is pissed at his tribe for losing. Pissed. You're smiling at Jeff. You're happy to be on Survivor. You know it sucks. You're trying to put on a brave face. And the guy who is like the alpha of your tribe tells you how displeased he is with you for smiling and losing.
Yeah, it is funny. Like when we were getting the first walkthrough from the first immunity challenge, like I remember looking at everybody and I was like, we're not going to win, right? Like we're all the same. And we were all just laughing. We're all like, this is great. Let's just go have fun, everybody. It's like we're the JV team. We're just like, let's just see what happens. So this is not something that I relate to at all. I remember after our first immunity challenge when we lost, Jeff came to me and was like, what does it mean to lose the first immunity challenge? And I was like, to be honest with you, Jeff, I'm just so proud that we all got off, above the wall. Like the wall, we all came in here, we all saw it, we were all nervous, and then Emily chimed in with like, I would have liked to have won the challenge. And we were like, okay, great. Like that's awesome. So would we, but that's not the reality that we're in right now. The TK of it all is, it's a everybody's upset. TK, I think to infer that nobody wants to leave. Nobody wants to be the second person voted out. Everybody's in a bad spot. Nobody's, we were a weird case where we were in fact smiling. Nobody else is smiling. Like that's not happening in Survivor, especially with the amount of competitive people that you've been living with now for 5 days. Like you can infer that, Gabe is a clear competitor. Sue is a clear competitor. They all are. Yeah. So it's a hard thing to justify the reaction for sure.
Yeah. It is. And I think that it's the same thing. It's like, what are people's pet peeves? What are people going to be happy or bugged about? Like, where can I just like skirt under the radar or do the things that I think are going to be pleasing to people? And one of those is look disappointed at the end of a loss and like you gave it your all and are all the way gassed, because that's what people want, So
I feel like TK wants you to like throw a temper tantrum like he did, sort of.
Yeah.
There's always like one guy like this who feels like that in order to be competitive, you have to like throw a hissy fit when you lose.
Which I do think is like a great thing about the casting of the show is that like you have people like that and granted, I think everybody on that tribe is competitive, but like I get the sense that TK in life is not used to losing, right? And then you have people on his tribe that are. That have lost a lot more than just a game in life, So like to deal with such a fundamental philosophical concept like loss and just have everybody, but it doesn't matter how you feel about loss. It's how you collectively, feel about it and how you can make how you feel about it blend in with what everybody else is doing.
Yes.
And this was not that.
Yeah. So then let's talk about Tiana's decisions here. Tiana is wrestling with emotional versus strategic. She thinks strategy wise, sticking with TK and Greg. What is his name? Kyle, not Greg. Yeah. TK and Kyle, and thinks that that's the way to go because Gabe's there. But then when she starts kind of feeling it out, she understands that people aren't with TK as much as she thought they were. What is her correct move here? Because the thing and she even nailed it on the head, was she's not only blindsiding TK, which is fine. He's gone. He's exiting. She's blindsiding then Kyle, and that can be a problem. And I think a lot of times when you are wrestling with these votes, you need to determine who's going to be bugged, how many people are going to be bugged on each side, and minimize the damage control you have to do when you come back that night. So I think like, okay, she's pissing off Kyle maybe, but also he seems like pretty level-headed and he seems like he'll be pretty chill about it versus going the other way and potentially pissing off Gabe, Sue, and Caroline. And so I think numbers wise, like mathematically, you have to do TK here if you're Tiana. Yeah. Like it shouldn't even be a question.
And if you hear Kyle say like nice people can win the game, you know, if you're Tiana and you go back to tribal council that nice, it's like, hey, you know, TK wasn't nice to us when we like lost.
Yes.
Like we're building off of the your fundamental belief of what you love about Survivor and the love that you have for the people who win Survivor. Let's just do more of that. And I think that you win Kyle back instantly. I do think though that if they lose this first immunity challenge, I don't think the TK goes because I think there is a question of strength at that point when you lose. But they are shown to be capable that they've won, right? Like they know that they can win an immunity challenge. Really, like, and James Jones has said this, you're only having these brute strength immunity challenges for the first couple rounds because then you lose people and then those are harder, right? So really, and I don't know if anybody there is thinking from that lens, but like the things that TK could be really, really useful for are on borrowed time as opposed to just having a group that can work cohesively, that can hopefully win again. I mean, they could lose every challenge from this point on. And then it's like Jelinski being voted off first of the Yanu tribe is like that second immunity challenge where they're doing those blocks would have been really helpful to have Jelinski, right? But that's not the scenario that we're in. So I think that this TK move is calculated in that like he just may not be useful for the rest of the time that he's here.
TK was also in the like lead position on the like guide the ball part of that challenge, the most crucial part, and Sue was the sit out. So they lost with TK in and with Sue out. So like this, the idea that it's like, well, we got to keep the tribe strong. So, you know, it's got to be Sue going. It's like you lost without her and lost with him being a like crucial person in the challenge. It doesn't make any sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think TK misstepped a lot of places too. He also decided as he stormed off and pouted while everybody talked about him storming off and pouting, he talked about, and they were talking about how he wasn't willing to take credit for the loss. He blamed other people. But then he also is in the water is like, I got to take more control. I got to be bossier. I got to dictate who does what at everything. And that's a recipe for losing. That is the clearest, cleanest recipe for losing a tribe challenge in Survivor is letting one person determine what roles everyone plays at that challenge. Because the part of being a tribe is trusting everyone enough to know their strengths and weaknesses when it comes to the challenge, and also being strong enough to raise your hand when you know you're good at something. Yeah. So I've even gotten in arguments with people where they're like, I'm going to do the swimming. I was like, I'm actually going to do the swimming. And they're like, I'm a good swimmer. I swam in high school. And I was like, I'm a better swimmer. Like, I'm like, I don't know why I don't want to argue with you here, but we're going to win this because I'm going to do the swimming. And you need to be able as a player in those moments, if you want to win those challenges, to step into those roles when they suit you perfectly, even to the point of pushing someone off that role. But at that point, if you're pushing someone off, you've got to prove to everybody that you were strong enough in that situation to have pushed that person off.
Yeah. It's a gamble. It's a Vegas gamble. As if it's
not a gamble. I know I'm a faster swimmer than Tina Wesson. Like we're not, I will take that bet all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking of when I'm just lodging out what challenge that was. But yeah, listen, I'm not a faster swimmer than Tina Wesson. But Riley, what's your thought here? Are you a faster swimmer than Tina Wesson?
Probably. I'm okay though. I don't know. I'm not.
You'd let Tina do the swimming.
You know what? I'd be like, go ahead, Tina. We'll see what happens.
Well, swimming's one of those things where even if you're an okay swimmer, an excellent swimmer is going to give you a huge advantage.
I'm not excellent. I'm not so strong that it's like, okay, I'm going to insist here that I do it because I might do fine at swimming, but not so great that I can like avoid blame. And there will be people who are like, well, what if Tina had swam or whatever? It's like, I might have still done better, but it's not going to be so great that it's unquestionable that didn't lose us the challenge.
Yeah, Tina was going to swim butterfly the whole challenge.
Yeah, go ahead. Whatever. Go ahead.
You want to do good enough at your portion of the challenge to where if you do lose when you get back, that isn't even talked like that.
Yes.
It's like that you weren't even doing the challenge. It's like you weren't even a part of the challenge. It's like
or,
the challenge then becomes
or they did their part exceptionally, so we can't cut them. It was a different part of the challenge that was the problem.
Sure.
Like
yeah.
Because that's you could do that too, Brandon. Like you're thinking, like just settle into mediocrity somewhere and hope that nobody talks about you. But which is the base. That's what you got to do in these early couple stages. But again, like and I think New Era or even modern Survivor is more and more aware of this. Is that these alpha guys aren't that helpful a lot of times. They're not helpful in the tribe dynamic. And they're
not when they come with this attitude.
Yeah. And also they're not helpful at the challenges. They're not indispensable because the challenges end in puzzles. The challenges have these other things that aren't just lifting and carrying and being strong.
It's always like, okay, with the strong dude, we can get like a 30-second head start on a puzzle that's going to take like 15 minutes to do. It's not that important.
It's important. That's still important, but
somewhat. But
if your puzzle people are good, that's important. If you have the optimal puzzle people, but a lot of the times, Riley, that from what I experienced and seen, like it just you're all level at the end. Like it's like you're just getting tired to then do the puzzle, as opposed to a challenge that is built on stage puzzle. It's just like getting everybody a little bit jumbled up before they actually have to do this final task.
Yeah.
Tribal council is just more of the same. It's more of this circling of the bromance and Survivor's not always cookie cutter, and then TK talking about Sue and how nobody's talking to Sue and whose fault is that. And that's the point where I was like, no, TK, you're in way too deep. Everyone's side-eyeing each other like, okay, he does definitely have to go. The only thing that really stands out to me here is Gabe playing his idol for himself, which a lot of people question that is the correct move. If they go to a rock draw, he's now excluded from that. So he has now, that's where his mindset came in. Because for half a second, I was puzzled and perplexed. It was smart. He could have played it on Sue. But if it comes to a rock draw, then he's saved himself.
Yeah, I like that. I do also like the move of keeping the dead idol and just using it for something later on down the line. Just having the actual
I guess only 5 people on his tribe know about it, so that's perfect.
Yeah, I mean, you get to a merge situation, and then you're at a draw with another tribe who has 5, or it's 3 and 2, whatever, and it's like, hey, we've got something, and we will use it.
Have you watched a merge episode? Have you watched a merge episode in the New Era?
No.
They all tell about it. The underdog of the tribe immediately goes to all the other tribes and tells them everything about their tribe going into the merge. So too many people know it's not working. Gabe holding that is maybe useful against one person who's not even going to be the linchpin in any capacity because everybody else already is going to learn about that, maybe even on a journey before they get to the merge. Like, I don't hate that idea if he's kept it mostly secret or all the way secret.
Sure.
But
everybody on his tribe, they're like, this guy is Indiana Jones or whatever. I guess he called himself Indiana Jones, which isn't as cool, but everyone knows.
Cool. It's such a step down from being as cool as
if somebody else had called him that.
Not nearly as good.
He likened himself to Tarzan and called himself Indiana Jones.
He found it partway through. Indiana Jones obviously makes more sense. It's the better comparison for this. He started with Tarzan, then he corrected. He was like, wait, it's actually Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
Gabe had
they should have cut
Disney
the Tarzan
Plus.
part.
For 3 weeks before he was going to Survivor, he just binged all of Disney Plus. He just gonna start naming IPs. Next week, it's gonna be like, this vote's like The Mandalorian streaming, and January. That's what
Brandon,
you got to plow through. Yes,
with Gabe mentioning or likening himself to Tarzan and Indiana Jones, does that increase or decrease his shot of winning this thing?
I do. I like it because I do like how, like Erica has like the lamb to lion of it all. Like they'll always hint at those things. Do they hint at those things at tribal council? I don't think so. Do they hint at a thing that is a already known famous IP? I also don't think so. Like I do think if Gabe was going to win and, next episode, he's like, I'm the wild child who just, coined some dumb thing that's not real. And then that was like a reoccurring thing. I like that more. But if next week, he says another thing about Indiana, then I'm more invested in the Indiana Jones of it all. If he says it again,
you think it's got to be season long?
You have to season long, or you have if you just name IPs, if you just name intellectual properties, then that's not that's I don't think anything. But unless you're like the movie guy, like you work at a movie rental store and you do there was a guy just on the last Australian Survivor named Eden who I think worked at a movie theater, and he just his whole time he was there, he's Back to the Future, Gladiator, like he's doing movie references. But that's not what Gabe's doing. So maybe Gabe has a moment at a certain point. Maybe he sticks with Tarzan or something. But will he find his Jane? That's Tarzan?
Yeah, that's Tarzan.
I don't know Indiana Jones. I don't know if he had a love in. I've never seen Indiana Jones. There's snakes. I'm afraid of snakes. Out.
There is snakes. He has different love interests.
Yeah, it changes. It's kind of like
that's nice.
Yeah, it's like James Bond, where he like goes in and there's the Bond girls, there's the Indiana Jones girls.
Interesting.
Yeah,
you never hear about them. That you always hear about the Bond girls.
Yeah,
you always hear about the Jones girls are missing.
Which leads me to the question I've been wanting to ask since the start of this episode. If you were an Indiana Jones girl, how much do you resent Bond girls?
Yeah, that is, you have to think that, if you say like you were in a famous franchise and you played the love interest, they're like, oh, which James, were you in Goldfinger? Were you in, Time to Die or whatever? And then you get to say, no, I was at the Temple of Doom.
Yes.
Which is not, which is a different thing. It's a different IP. That's interesting. I'll have to ask people.
But if you're an Indiana Jones girl, you get like a normal name. If you're a Bond girl, you're like, your name is like Pussy Galore or whatever.
That is
okay. Like, what's going on here?
That is true. Which is what they did tell me if I want to play on 50. That has to be my name. And I'm still unsure of it. I'm going to the
with
DMV
the tattooed tiger stripes.
Yeah, it's like Undercover Boss. I'm going to reveal at the end that it's me the whole time. They'll bring me back in, but we'll get there. It's spring 2026.
Yeah, I like that. I also like that now that you have that tattoo, like if you went on like the Traders, they'd probably have to cover that up because that's actually CBS artwork or Survivor artwork.
No, so this actually is not. This is
just an out
done a little bit. Yeah. This is. I had an artist draw it.
Smart.
So
you changed it just enough, or maybe it's a parody because of the parody law.
Yeah, I do look like a guy. I understand that I give like Afraid of Needles, but I've got a couple. I've got a skull over here. I've got a globe down here.
You didn't have any of that. So you spent everything Survivor gave you on tattoos?
No, I had these.
You wore a shirt the whole time.
I wore a shirt the whole time. Yeah. I had this guy, Anthony Bourdain had this in the same spot. And I got the guy that gave it to him to give it to me. A big Bourdain guy.
Wow,
I have
that's
skull,
cool.
Or I have a globe right here. I have my grandfather robbed that bank famously from the Survivor 45 preview. I have the newspaper headline of what he got when he got caught right here.
Okay.
I'm a tattoo guy.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I always just thought you were a clean, wholesome kid who loved Survivor, who would tweet at me incrementally for the last 15 years.
He's got some edge. This is I'm leading. Yeah, I'm leaning into the. I didn't get.
So they called you for 50, and they're like, "If we had you on 50, what would you do?" And you're like, "Pop my fucking shirt." And you're like, "You're in. You're in."
They said, "Yeah, you can do that." They want to do a photo shoot, but that's fine. Beforehand.
Yeah,
but
they'll do that.
I'll do that.
They do that. Anything else, Riley or Brandon, you want to touch on from the episode before we get into predictions for next week?
Can I say, Riley?
Yes.
I'm sorry if you want to.
No, Brandon, go.
There's a lot of Emily Flippin is famous for the malapropism, which is using the phrase like a common phrase like incorrectly.
Mm-hmm.
Like it'll be water under
the ticking time clock. I know what you're
ticking time clock.
I know.
And then Gabe says he's burying himself. He's burying himself a hole rather than he's digging myself a hole. Or he's digging himself a hole. Emily Flippin, I think, said water under the passageway or something. Like she had one of those that was weird. I love a malapropism. Yes. Oh, how the turns have tabled.
I always wanted to, and I tried, and I think I've said this on the podcast before. I tried to read the whole Old Testament to use phrases from the Bible incorrectly in survivorisms, but I got a page in and was like, I'm not going to be able to do this.
It's dense. It's a dense book. It's one of those
not
ones
a page turner, the Old Testament.
Not a page turner.
But how hilarious had I just been like, it's like they say in Job or in Deuteronomy or whatever, you know? Hilarious, right?
Scripture.
I really wanted to. I just said this to somebody recently. I really wanted to get. I think hip hip hooray as a concept is super funny. You know, like I think nobody says it anymore. Outdated. I would love like an immunity win where we all do like a big hip hip hooray, and we never got to do it.
Like so 3 times or just one.
Well, you get everybody. Yeah, you get everybody to hip hip twice.
Hooray!
And then we hit the
hooray.
Yeah. Well, you do hip hip and then hooray and then hit, like it's a call and response.
Okay.
Yeah.
But then we never won anything, and we never got to. There was no hips in my Survivor journey.
And TK as a viewer would have been pissed had you done a hip hip hooray for a loss.
Yeah, you can't do that. No hips for a loss. No, definitely no hoorays.
Yeah,
but next time.
Yeah, season 50. You're so fortunate that you get this extra shot. And can then, correct all your wrongs and do all the things you wish you would have done. So very excited to watch you there. Riley, what else we got?
Want to do predictions?
I do.
All right. Gabe played the idol. So Tuku's idol is out there. Who finds that idol?
Oh.
Ooh, that's good. I think Tiana's going to find it.
Would love that. Tiana famously Survivor 45 alternate. That's family. She's one of us.
Yeah.
I would bet my money on Gabe again. I think Gabe will find it again.
He's going to scramble again.
He's Indiana Jones.
I think he's going to scramble again. Yeah,
he could.
Who are there other fictional characters that are known for like finding things?
Ooh.
Nicolas Cage from
Nicolas
National
Cage.
Treasure.
National Treasure.
I don't remember the name of that character, but
it's Ben. It's Benjamin something. But
they should have come up with something cooler.
It's Gates.
Yeah. Ben Gates. Gates.
Ben Gates, man.
We haven't gotten to that on the rewatchables yet, but
not yet.
One day.
One of your favorite podcasts.
Yeah, I mean, I'll plug. Listen, I love this. I love The Ringer. I listen to the rewatchables every week. I listen to The Watch. Shout out to everybody. This is great. The idea that I'm on a Ringer pod, crazy.
I don't know if National Treasure is like a Bill Simmons core rewatchable movie, but it's definitely one of mine. It should be. Yeah.
They've got nothing in common with Boogie Nights. He really likes Boogie Nights, National Treasure. No overlap between National Treasure and Boogie Nights.
I don't.
Not
think
a single thing in common.
Is Mark Wahlberg not in both movies?
He I sure got the call. He went to finals casting for National Treasure. And didn't make it in.
Okay.
He was an alternate, but next time.
And I do believe that the best boy from both films was the same.
He was, and he was the best boy. He was. That's why they kept hiring him, is because he was the best.
Yeah, at the time. Okay, Riley, what else we got?
All right, let's do winner picks.
Okay, TK, my winner pick is out, and this is very difficult to choose because we don't have a ton to go off of right now. I'm going to say Annika. It's a long shot. I'm going long shots now. She seemed like she was
okay. You watch the next time on, right?
Does she look good or bad there?
Well, she asks Sam and Sierra if they're dating.
Oh yeah.
I then immediately
Sierra's married.
Yeah.
I don't. Is Sierra married?
I think they are both. I think they are both engaged.
Sam is for sure. Sam is for sure married.
Okay.
I saw his wedding photos are on his Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah. Sierra, I'm not sure. She had like one photo that seemed to indicate she was in a relationship. I didn't see a wedding.
I'm changing mine. Let's go with Saul.
So I talked you off of Annika.
Yeah, you talked me off of Annika so fast. I just was like, she was so overbearing and like wanted to be the manager that first episode that I was like, there's no shot. And then she kind of like rebounded a little bit here and seems like she's getting her footing. But like 2 married people on a reality show asking if they're dating on national TV is not great for anybody. I'm going to go with Saul.
I will say in Annika's defense, I actually got these vibes from this episode too during the whole idol hunt thing. I was like, Sam and Sierra, they seem close. And then after the episode, I went and looked it up and found out that they're in relationships and stuff. So I don't actually think there's anything happening, but I picked up on the same thing she picked up on.
Okay. So you're choosing Annika for your winner pick.
No, because I would never in front of the tribe ask if they're dating. I would just like subtly try to observe them
Figure
from
it out.
afar.
Okay.
This is a bad move for the record.
Okay.
Brandon, who's your winner pick?
I do have one.
Yes.
Riley, who's yours?
Oh, I will do. So I've been on Teeny, but I felt like this is a rough episode for her. So I'm gonna switch. Often Tyson and I just pick and stick, but I'm gonna switch.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say Rachel.
Okay.
Love it. Great pick. Rice. Did we talk about? We talked about the rice.
We talked
rice
about
is crazy.
the rice. Yeah. Delicious rice. Who's your winner pick?
Yeah.
I've been
that creativity is what I'm looking for.
The creativity. I've been locked in on the same person for 2 weeks. I feel even better about it this week.
Yeah.
The theme of season 47 right now is we're getting a lot of Rome. Rome's a big personality. We got a lot of Andy, a big personality. TK, big personality. I think even when I watch the interviews, this is a cast of big personalities. And the person that I felt kind of stuck out in the opposite direction. Not that they have a small personality by means, but they're kind of wrangled in, is Caroline. I can see a story where it's not about being the loudest or the most emotional or the most showy. It's the work. And I think that's a cool story that I've invented in my head, and I'm assigning it to Caroline.
Okay.
I thought you were about to say Genevieve, who I was like, I don't think she's actually on this season.
Yeah, no confessionals for Genevieve, I don't think, in this episode.
She's the only Canadian on the cast.
Yeah. Which they don't, they do win. Sometimes they win, the Canadians.
Canadians do win in this modern era. We never let them win in old school Survivor, but now it's just like, you can't stop them.
You never let Tom Laidlaw win Survivor, the only Canadian previous of season 40. You were instrumental in not letting Tom Laidlaw even near that final tribal council.
We weren't going to let it happen. Too much patriotism,
Sure.
USA.
Amen. Please vote. If you're listening, please go to vote in a couple weeks. It's important. Tom Laidlaw won't, but you might. You might go vote.
Yeah, he might.
He might. Does he live here? I don't know if he lives in Canada.
I feel like he must have a U.S. passport or something.
I guess to go participate in the program. Maybe at that point you did.
But
shout out to him.
Yep. Riley, what else you got?
Okay, so I want to do next boot, but we're going to do it just slightly differently. We're going to. So give me the tribe you think is losing and who you think is going home. But also for the other tribes, give us somebody who's on the bottom so that in the event that they lose, you have somebody there too.
I think Red Tribe is going to lose. I think we haven't seen any of them, and it's time. It's time for us to see them. And it can't be Rome.
It can't be Rome.
It's not Rome. Rome is the only person it's not. I think that it's
Teeny.
Oh, go ahead.
It's going to come back.
I don't even think that. I think it's the person who I do like the preview for the next episode of Survivor is Rome saying this is Survivor Rome, whatever. I think that Rome has somehow the most leverage in this group, and whoever has anything with Rome is going to go. Like, I think that if somebody upsets Rome, if somebody walks away from Rome while Rome's telling a story, I think that is the person who goes. And I think it's that arbitrary of a left where it's like, Rome has all the cards right now. We're afraid of him. Let's just see what happens.
So who is it? Asia, Genevieve, or Kashan?
Well, that's the thing. I think I think it's going to be that quick of a thing where it's one of them for sure. It could be Teeny. We don't know that it's not Teeny.
Yeah.
It could be, he trusts Teeny. That could be some foreshadowing into next week. Teeny says something or does something that Rome's like, well, he's got the power.
Who do you have from Red Tribe, Riley?
I'm going to say Aisha.
Okay.
Sorry. I don't know. I don't have a lot of trust in the podcasters right now.
Our HAP podcast coming for
that's
you.
That's my people.
It's just podcasters in general. I don't know. I don't know.
They're terrible
really
people. Terrible Survivor players. If you're a Survivor player first and then a podcaster, excellent at both.
Yeah.
If you're a podcaster going to Survivor, bad.
The correct pipeline is Survivor first.
Yes.
It doesn't go the other way. We have not seen much evidence that it goes the other way very well.
Yeah. So this was my plan the whole time.
Yes. Really smart.
Yeah.
Very smart.
That's what I said in my video.
Who do you think's going to lose? Which tribe do you think's going to lose? You two?
I have a guess.
Okay.
Did you, Riley? Did you say Red?
No, I said Red.
No, that was Tyson.
I think we're going to lose another Blue again. I think Blue's going back. I think Gabe will have that idol. Mm-hmm. And then whether he tells people about it, whether he's the name that's out, I don't think it'll be Kyle. I think Kyle seems really, really likable to me and will be able to ingratiate quickly. But I can see another loss for Blue. And it's not Caroline, because then I'm going to lose the $100,000 I bet that she won.
Yeah.
So I hope that it's somebody else.
Yeah, I hope for you too.
So who do you think? Who from Blue?
I don't think it's Sue. Who's
left? It's either Sue or Tiana.
I think Tiana. I think if it's Blue, it's going to be Tiana.
I think if it's Blue, it'll be Tiana. Yeah. I think that makes sense to me that it would be. I think Gabe's going to play it again, or Gabe finds it, doesn't play it, and they vote off Gabe. It's like not a Sabaya situation, but it's the huge character from the first 3 episodes, which is Gabe leaving episode 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
So I think Tiana from Blue. I have Gata losing, actually. So we're all separate here. We're all different. And from that tribe, I actually don't think it's Andy at this point. I think he's going to kind of be a non-threat and has sort of repaired enough. And I think it's
Sam.
No, I think it's Annika following the are you two dating thing. She's going to have Sam and Sierra just gunning for her. That feels like a big stumble to me.
I think it's going to be Sam. We saw Annika say that he's now a threat because he found the thing. Sierra didn't like that he wanted to protect Andy. And
but Sam, hold on. He has the idol for one.
Oh, he just chose one single. Yeah. Okay. So maybe he's a lock.
He's safe unless he does.
But he's also
really
teased
silly
about playing it on Andy, which they could all circle back to Andy and be like, "It's you." And
that'd be great if he played it on Andy and then he goes home.
Yeah, that could be.
Let's fingers crossed.
Oh, that would be fun.
That's what's going to happen.
Oh, that would be crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I hope that happens. I do think that Andy has now, like Andy and the Sam thing that they show is like canonical. I don't think that Andy's leaving the next time they go. I think that's assuredly so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. What else we got, Riley? Is that it?
That's it.
That's it. Brandon, thank you so much for tuning in and sharing your time, watching the episode early, the screener, the VIP, and then sharing all of your thoughts and wisdom with us here. Great insight. Riley, as always, thank you for always sticking by my side, never leaving me. Shout out to Ashley, who's on a much-deserved vacation, having the time of her life in the Greek Isles, I hope. And shout out as well to Sweet Booty Beacham, who is our interim producer and creating all the magic you're hearing right now. Until next week, everyone. See ya.